what Christ brought into the world through his birth. The 4th of July, we separated those principles of Christmas being incorporated into civil government. So we were still celebrating a religious holiday on the 4th of July 61 years afterwards.
Talking to David Barton. David, if you had to put a percentage on it, or the odds, if this were like a, like people say, a sporting event, they say, the odds of this team beating that team is such and such. If you could look at the odds of the Americans defeating the British to win our independence, so that we could be talking here today, what would you have said back in that in that time if you had to look at the chances?
If I eliminate God out of the equation and just handicap this thing, what I'm going to say is, okay, in the American Revolution, only single digits of Americans actually participated in the revolution. So one point is I've got less than 10% of the people willing to do anything about this thing. Second point is, on polling, only 25% of the people supported the American Revolution. 25 opposed it, and 50 wanted to see who was going to win. So only 1 out of 4 supports the revolution. Less than 1 out of 10 participated in the revolution. I'm going to say, that's not a national movement that's going to catch hold and win. So that's one. Number two is I'm going to say these guys in their whole history have never had their own military. They've always been British citizens. So they don't have military. They got a bunch of shopkeepers, and they got a bunch of farmers and school teachers, and they own guns, but they're not military. They're not trained. So going up against the most experienced, most trained, best equipped military in the world versus a bunch of rookie novices, that's my number 2 handicap I'm going to. Number 3 is the international scene. When the Americans declared independence, July the 2nd and then July the 4th, they need money to operate this thing. They got to have money to fund the troops in the field. And you could not get a single nation to loan $1 to America. When they looked in the dictionary under bad risk, it had the signers of the Declaration as the picture of bad risk. So, from the international standpoint, it was not until we've been firing bullets for 3 years that we started getting international notice. They said, these guys might just pull this off after all. So when this thing starts, if I'm handicapping it, I'm saying, no, ain't going to happen. And quite frankly, when they called the First Continental Day of Prayer and Fasting, John Adams told Abigail about it, and then about, 6-8 weeks later, he's telling her all the answers to the prayers in that day of prayer and fasting. And he said a bunch of them were sitting around at a tavern, which restaurant, and talking about it. And he said the conversation was that when they looked at all the victories we were having, which we shouldn't be having, even to the Americans, this is what they said. They said, it appears to us the eternal Son of God is operating powerfully against the British nation. So even the Americans are saying, this doesn't make sense. We're winning battles we shouldn't be winning. We're winning things we shouldn't win. Only way we can explain this is that God showed up. So those are 4 things I would point to say that, that there's no way the Americans are going to pull this off. And even they agreed that they weren't going to pull it off without God. But God obviously showed up.
Well, you're listening to Today's Issues. Our guest is David Barton. David, you guys have a relatively new book out, and it's called The Founder's Bible, The Origin of Dreaming of the Dream of Freedom. While we
got 2 minutes.
We're coming up towards the end of the show, and I wanted you to at least have a chance to tell us about that quickly.
Yeah, the Founder's Bible, what we've done with the 100,000 documents we own, which, thousands of Washington's writings and Jefferson, Madison, all those guys, they talk about the Bible so many ways and so many applications. And so when we were asked to do a commentary on the Bible, I said, no, you don't need Barton's opinion. What you need is the Founder's opinion. So we let the Founders talk about Bible verses on economics, on abortion of all things, on marriage, very debates we have today, on military, on education. Founder's Bible literally is the Founding Fathers taking Bible verses that apply to different issues that we face today and doing commentary on it. And so it's one of the coolest Bibles I've seen in my lifetime. It's kind of like the Geneva Bible, the Pilgrims, with all the commentary that shaped the culture back then. We hope that this will shape the culture in the same way.
David, 1 minute left. In the Declaration of Independence, our founders referred to the laws of nature and of nature's God.
Yeah.
What is that?
That comes directly out of the Scriptures. That's Romans 1, dual revelation, where Paul says everything that can be known about God is known through his creation. And then we also have his written word because Adam sinned and fell and our knowledge was obscured. So the laws of nature tell us that slavery is wrong, that sodomy is wrong, that abortion is wrong. All that doesn't happen in nature. and the laws of nature's God says, well, theft is wrong and perjury is wrong. And so the laws of nature's God was natural law as confirmed by the Bible, and that's what that means.
That's interesting because they intentionally put that in, the first few sentences.
That came from the leading legal textbook of the day, by the way, and that was not a misunderstood phrase. It was well documented to the Bible, and Blackstone's Commentaries is the guy who came up with that phrase that they used.
And the secular leftists just hate the idea that it's in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's there for all time to read and to see. David Barton's been our guest. Visit his website, the Founders Bible. You can purchase there from Wallbuilders, wallbuilders.com, wallbuilders.com. David, thanks so much for your time. Happy Independence Day, my friend.
Bless you guys, and celebrate it as a religious holiday.
Amen.
God bless you guys.
Amen.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you. All right, you're listening to today's issues. We've got news followed by another half hour of interviews here on American Family Radio. Jim and I will be back.